Hello, before we begin the course, one important note. This course was developed and published before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine and before the governance rupture between Russia and the Western Arctic states that followed. So why keep the course in its original form? Because if you don't understand the Arctic as it functioned before 2022, you'll misunderstand what changed after and why the Arctic still behaves the way it does today. Think of this short video as your context lens. The next lessons will refer to Arctic institutions, cooperation, risk management, and low tension dynamics in ways that were accurate at the time and still matter now. But you'll also hear things that feel incomplete without the post Ukraine shift. This intro is here to bridge that gap, not to rewrite the course, but to help you interpret it correctly. Before 2022, Arctic security was often described using phrases like high north, low tension. That never meant the Arctic was free of competition. It meant the region had a distinct pattern, strategic rivalry in the background, functional cooperation in the foreground. Three features defined that era. Governance worked as a stabilizer. Arctic states relied on regularized channels, including agreements, working groups, and institutional routines to manage practical problems, maritime safety, search and rescue, environmental response, scientific cooperation, and fisheries issues. These weren't just convenient activities. They reduced uncertainty and helped prevent crises from spiraling. Russia was both competitor and participant. Russia modernized Arctic capabilities and protected its economic and strategic interests, but it also operated as a routine actor in Arctic governance. For a long time, many governments assumed the Arctic would remain a space where pragmatic coordination continued even during broader political friction. Security was not only military. Arctic security thinking emphasized infrastructure, resilience, emergency response, communications, energy systems, community safety, and the realities of operating across extreme distances and harsh weather. In the Arctic, security has always included the human and logistical layer, not only force posture. So pre-Ukraine, Arctic security was best understood as managed competition. Competition constrained by habits of cooperation, predictable processes, and shared risk. After February 2022, the Arctic did not become an entirely different region overnight, but it did experience a structural change in how security and governance operate. Here's the shift that matters most for you as a learner. Governance fragmentation. Many cooperative mechanisms involving Russia became politically constrained, paused, or effectively frozen. Even when technical cooperation would be useful, like emergency response, trust and institutional momentum were badly damaged. With fewer shared venues and routines, the risk of misinterpretation increases. Hard security gained primacy. Deterrence, readiness, surveillance, and escalation management moved to the center of Arctic security discourse. Activities that might once have been framed as presence or monitoring are now more readily interpreted as strategic signaling. Alliance dynamics tightened. The Euro-Atlantic security context now more strongly shapes Arctic behavior. The Arctic is more tightly connected to the broader NATO-Russia confrontation than it was in many students' mental health models pre-2022. So as you take this course in its original form, you should expect two things to be true at the same time. First, the course accurately captures the baseline system the Arctic ran on for decades. Second, the post-Ukraine environment puts stress on that system and in places breaks it. Now the key point, understanding the pre-Ukraine Arctic isn't a historical detour. It's the baseline you need to read today's Arctic. Why? Geography and operating constraints didn't change. Distance, weather, infrastructure, gaps, response limitations are still the underlying physics of Arctic security. Shared risk still exists even when politics don't cooperate. Accidents, search and rescue demands, maritime incidents, and environmental hazards don't pause for geopolitics. The region still has practical problems that eventually demand coordination, whether through old institutions or new substitutes. Russia remains a central actor, whatever the state of relations. Russia's Arctic geography, capabilities, and interests remain structurally embedded in the region. Pre-Ukraine governance was an attempt to manage that reality predictably. In short, to understand what changed after Ukraine, you need to understand what existed before it and why it worked when it did. As you move into the course, keep one question in mind. Is this concept describing an Arctic constant, geography, logistics, shared risk? Or is it describing a cooperative mechanism that has been weakened since 2022? That distinction will help you extract the enduring fundamentals from the earlier context, while accurately mapping the post-Ukraine shift. All right, now we'll start the course as originally designed. Use it to understand the Arctic's baseline logic, and you'll be better prepared to understand the Arctic's current direction.